This is Pastor James Huang's Mission History for the first week of October, and today we're looking at a truly pivotal and tragic event from that time, the Yulmi incident. It was the shocking, state-sponsored assassination of Korea's queen. So right at the heart of this whole story is Empress Myeongsung of the Joseon dynasty. And she wasn't just some royal figurehead, not at all. She was a real political powerhouse, a truly remarkable leader who had incredible diplomatic instincts and a sharp understanding of the big powers shifting all around her. And this really gets to the core of the political conflict at the time. On one side, you had her father-in-law, the Hongsun Daewongun. He was a staunch isolationist. His whole policy was lock the country's gates, keep foreign influence out. But on the other side, you had Empress Myeongsung, who saw a totally different way forward. She pushed for an open-door policy, strategically dealing with Japan, China, and Russia to try and secure Joseon's future. So you can probably guess that this forward-thinking diplomacy didn't sit well with everyone, especially not Meiji Japan. See, Japan had these huge ambitions of expanding onto the Asian continent, and they saw Korea as the perfect stepping stone. Well, the Empress's skillful, independent foreign policy was the number one thing standing in their way, a thorn in its side that they decided had to go. And that brings us to the event itself. In Korean, it's known as the Ulmi Sabyeon, or the Ulmi Incident. And let's be clear about what it was. This was the state-sponsored assassination of the mother of the nation, orchestrated and executed by Japan on October 8th, 1895. And if that wasn't already chilling enough, the Japanese gave the operation a code name. They called it the Fox Hunt. I mean, just that phrase alone tells you everything about the predatory, calculated nature of this entire plot. So who was behind this so-called hunt? Well, this wasn't some small rogue operation. The conspiracy came from the very top. It was directed by the Japanese minister to Joseon, Muragoro. He brought in Japanese soldiers, a palace guard who was in on it, and even a bunch of common thugs, yakuza, to storm the palace. But the story has this other, just awful layer of internal betrayal. Historical accounts strongly suggest that the Daewongun, the Empress's own father-in-law and her biggest political rival, was deeply involved. He had been pushed out of power by her, and it seems his participation was all about personal revenge, mixed in with this international crime. So let's just picture the scene. It's the early morning hours of October 8th, 1895. Under the orders of the Japanese minister, a group of assassins storms Gyeongbok Palace right in the heart of Seoul. What happened next was, as it was described, an unbelievable event without precedent in world history. The assassins didn't just murder the Empress, they did it with unimaginable cruelty. Then they desecrated her body, burning it in a forest nearby to get rid of the evidence. The sheer brutality. It was all designed to terrorize and completely paralyze the Joseon court. And in the aftermath of all this horror, the effect on the Empress's husband, King Gojong, was absolutely devastating. He was basically a prisoner in his own palace, so completely terrified that they were coming for him next that he couldn't even sleep. Now, this is where the story takes a really surprising turn. His own guards were compromised, his government was in chaos, so who does a terrified king turn to for protection? You might never guess. A small group of Western missionaries. What they did was just incredible. These missionaries, including some big names like Horace Underwood and Eugene Bell, they actually came to the palace and set up a makeshift guard. They took turns standing watch outside the king's chambers all night long. And get this, each of them was armed with a pistol. What a remarkable picture of loyalty in the middle of all that chaos. But even with these loyal protectors, the palace had become a place of pure trauma for King Gojong. The fear was just too much. He made a desperate call. He had to flee his own kingdom's palace just to survive. This event is known in Korean history as Agwan Pachen. Let's just break that down really quick. Agwan was the name for the Russian legation, and Pachen is the word for a king fleeing the palace during a crisis. So the king and the crown prince literally ran for their lives to the Russian legation for safety. And while it's completely understandable why he did it, it's often seen as another tragic stain on his reign. So all of this leaves us with that one huge question, doesn't it? What if? What if Empress Myeongsung had survived? I mean, with her political skill, many historians speculate that the entire course of modern history in East Asia could have turned out dramatically different. Pastor James Wong, who served as a missionary in China and now serves in Maryland, USA, is a researcher of Korean mission history. He delivers from his book, Remember and Repay, 52 Weeks of Mission Meditations, every week.